Emily, thank you so much for joining my first YouTube interview on my channel, where we have 7,000 subscribers now.
Ooh.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to be here, Keith.
Just quickly, why don't you just introduce yourself? I, of course, know who you are. We're very good friends, but
yes.
to the people here who might not know you.
To the people of YouTube, hello. I'm Emily. I come from the land of Instagram. I'm Emily in your phone on Instagram, and I have a fleggling Substack as well.
140,000 subscribers on Instagram.
I think it's 145,000.
Okay, amazing.
Not that I notice. But I used to be counsel to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and I've been doing this internet stuff for a while, and I am publishing my first book this week.
Yes, that is why we are meeting on this occasion, because democracy is in retrograde and we can do something about it. A lot of people do feel like, what can I do in this moment? You know, and I think you are giving people kind of like step-by-step actions for a time when it feels like there's no hope. How did you come up with this?
Well, I am an Instagram influencer, and so I constantly heard from people, I feel hopeless. What can I do? What should I do? And it's not something I can really give a 2-sentence response that could fix the problem. It is something that required a full 200 pages. And what Democracy in Retrograde does is walk you through developing your civic action plan. So it's not about me prescribing to people what they need to do. It's about helping people figure out how they can come up with like a sustainable way to get involved in politics or civic life, whatever you want to have it be for you. Because at the end of the day, for you to want to go back and do it every single day, it has to be something that brings joy, that is authentic to you, that is interesting to you. We can't have people constantly being told they have to do things they don't want to do. We cannot tell everyone that they have to go to a zoning board meeting, right? Like, you have to cold call people. Most people don't want to be doing that every day, but there's so many other options in civic life that currently people are ignoring that we need more people to do to sort of rebuild the civic fabric.
Yeah, and I think that is part of the problem, is that people don't understand that democracy isn't just voting for president. You know, I mean, that is like the North Star, but it's also truly like the end. That is like the end thing we do if we're trying to like maintain and keep a strong democracy. And a lot of that is civic engagement. I mean, the way I got started was not through a presidential campaign. I was literally handing out ballot initiatives in New York City on the Upper West Side in front of Zabar's. Is that what it's called? Zabar's?
Yeah.
Yeah, in front of Zabar's. Don't even know what the ballot proposal was, but I was just trying to do something. And I think through doing something, it leads you to the thing you're meant to be doing. But the important thing is to do something, because when you're doing something, it's so much better than doing nothing. And I think the great thing about this book, your book, is that it does kind of prescribe, it gives the pathway or blueprint to civic engagement.
Yeah, I mean, action is the antidote to despair. And
oh, I love that.
That is not me. I did not come up with that.
Who came up with that? That's good.
But there is a lot of people who seem to think that doom scrolling is a civic action. And I'm not going to take anyone's phone away from them. I mean,
posting is helpful, but it can't be the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, posting and doom scrolling are two different things.
Okay.
But I think that we need people to go out there. And the reality is there are corporate-backed dark money forces who are engaging in minority rule. And part of the book is diving into this a bit deeper. And what they want is for all of us to be silent, for all of us to be inactive. Mm-hmm. Silence is a political action. You are handing your power over to people who don't represent your interests. And, my first suggestion, whenever anyone asks me, what's the first thing I should do if I want to get involved? I'm always host a book club. Invite people over, build connections, start talking to people about politics, because conversations, they are the foundation of politics in this country. They are how we build communities. They're how we learn about new things. They're how we get involved. They're how you build friendships. And at the end of the day, you are going to keep going back to whatever activity you're doing. It's probably because of friendships. And that's how you're going to make it sustainable for you. So that's always my first suggestion for people when they ask.
Is to just start small.
Start small. I love a book club. You know, if there's something, the book walks you through. There's a series of exercises. This book is not like just a tome.
Just give us a
thick
taste.
tome.
Give us a taste of the book.
You don't need to read in order. You can read however you want it. And I always say go straight to page 91 because we have a civic personality quiz. And you're going to find out it's like a 17 magazine quiz from when we were young. And you're going to find out your civic personality. And who doesn't love a quiz? And from there, you know, there's all these different ideas based on your personality of ways you can get civically engaged. Then we move into auditing your news consumption, developing a civic network without networking, how to raise kids with a heart for civic engagement, all these different things that will add sort of different facets in your life. And as you go through the book, it always tells you to go put something at the end, go put a little summary of the journaling exercise or whatever it is that you're doing. And then once you finish reading the book, you will have a civic action plan. You'll have something ready for you to go out and sort of make a meaningful action in your community, in your state. If you want to go big and do national politics, whatever it is you want to do that's meaningful and authentic to the things that you care about.
Yeah, and I think what you said about it having to feel authentic to you is so important. Like, you know, it's like anything else. You know, hobby, I can only personally sustain something if I enjoy it, you know,
Yeah.
and politics, if it's not your profession, like it is for me and for you, it's a hobby. And a hobby, people don't do hobbies that aren't fun.
There has to be joy. We have to be able to find joy in the work. And there is joy to be found. One of the biggest propositions we make in this book is that we have a loneliness epidemic in this country. It is like a real thing. The Surgeon General has said it. And it's a problem. And it's a fraying of the civic fabric. And that's, you know, as a little diversion, right? Like extremist authoritarian regimes, this is something they try to accomplish. It is a way to enact authoritarian regimes, is to fray the social fabric and isolate people, break apart these relationships so people can't communicate, they can't organize, they can't feel empathy for their fellow human beings. It's a key tactic. And so one of the things we say is that we think that one of the ways to fix the loneliness epidemic in this country is civic engagement. There has been, over the last 40 years, a total deterioration of community public engagement in this country. And we don't have the third places. We aren't going to the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, churches. Now people are starting to attack libraries, the last free third place. And civic engagement is something that you can do that doesn't cost money, where you're going to meet people who share your values. You're going to meet people who want to work on a project together, and that project is probably making your community better in some way. It could be a bee garden. It could be a speed bump. It could be going to the state house to lobby to end gun violence. There's like an infinite amount of different options, but it's about figuring out how to start coming back together as communities so we can reform those bonds.
Well, Emily, I guess my question for people who would maybe hear that and feel a little, I don't even know what the word is, but they would say like, well, how does helping, you know, help my local community, how is that going to, you know, fight authoritarianism? How is that going to defeat Donald Trump? How is that going to prevent Republicans from this right-wing takeover of our country?
Yeah, I mean, look, not everything is a short game. There's also a long game we have to play. And the way that getting involved in your community helps fight authoritarianism is you're going to start talking to people and you're going to start having conversations about politics. You're going to get people engaged and involved on the issues that you care about. Donald Trump isn't the only authoritarian running for office, by the way.
Wait, who else?
There's lots of people running in state governments. There's some crazy local governments. Like there's people all over. There are random people running for school board, for library board, who are not in the best interests. There's also library boards sleeping at the wheel. 11 people are responsible for 60% of book bans in this country, right? There's so many different places. And they are important too. There's a lot of things that are important in this country.
It sounds like what you're saying too is a lot of this work could be preventing someone that could be rising up from cutting them off from ever getting started. Because if they never get onto the school board, maybe they never get into the state legislature, they never, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the time machine Hitler question, right? But I think that, you know, we have a minority rule problem in this country. And
what does that mean?
The people that, especially in the Senate, there are the senators who are the Republican majority are representing an increasingly smaller group of people. And the reality is, if Republicans get into office, they're not interested in representing the interests of the majority. There's so many policies, you know, universal background checks, for example, that are like, everyone agrees on that. You know, the vast majority of this country is for it. But the people who are controlling the conversation are people who sit on the extremes. And so, you know, the solution to that is democracy. And not everyone in this country votes. People certainly don't vote in primaries. A lot of people aren't voting in their state and local elections. There's a lot of work to do to rebuild democracy, to infuse it with health. And the way to do that is just for everyone to do their part.
Yeah. And then I think, I mean, the thing that I like about the title, Democracy in Retrograde is not forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so I think part of doing all this stuff, we can get out of retrograde.
Yeah, I mean, fix it. You know, one of the things I hear from people who read this book is like, I feel hopeful again. And that is our goal. We want people to be hopeful. We have to be hopeful. What other choice do we have?
We become, if we feel defeated, we get defeated at the ballot box. So it is so important to be hopeful right now. And I think it's hard right now to be hopeful. I think I want to honor that we are in a particular news cycle right now where hope feels hard to attain. Well, that's really why I think it's like, I don't know how you plan this, but it was the perfect time for a book like this to come out, because it really is not only offering hope to people in a time where hope feels unattainable, but it also is just giving people action items to allow them to grow into the hope and grow into the community they want to have. So thank you so much for being on and being such an advocate and being a calm voice in a time that feels completely turbulent.
Thank you, Keith, for having me. And everyone, pick up your copy of Democracy in Retrograde. It's available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. We are trying to get democracy on the bestseller list, so appreciate your help.
Yeah, and there's a link. There will be a link down in the description if you want to check it out right now. So thanks.